MrBeast is a YouTuber with millions of subscribers and sits at the cushy seat of YouTube's #1 channel run by a private content creator. He makes entertainment videos generally targeted at kids to early teens. Content of his follow a typical structure, a challenge that contestants have to compete in for a chance at a large cash prize, though there is variation from video to video. MrBeast's content has changed over the course of his rise to fame. One of his early hits was a video where he counted to 100,000 continuously. He proceeded to do this in multiple videos with the same structure. He does Y for X number of times continuously. He further garnered fame with his association with PewDiePie, the former reigning #1 of YouTube, during his competition with T-Series, an Indian media company, where arguably one of the most iconic YouTube diss tracks was released. It was sometimes after that he finally settled into his current video structure, challenge for prize money. Recently, MrBeast have been wrapped up in multiple scandals. This is not unusual for content creators who have amassed a certain number of followers. So first there was a scandal where people accused him of using his followers for charity, having a toxic workplace, though I don't believe it was anything serious that an HR team wouldn't be able to fix, faking challenges as well as faking the cash prize, and the latest one being an allegation made by Rosanna Pansino towards MrBeast being an alleged sexist. These controversies warrant an entirely separate video where we discuss the validity of these claims. However, the one I want to focus on in this video is the complaints some fans have made towards the structure of his video challenges. Months ago, MrBeast tweeted out a new challenge where he says, "Would you spend 100 days in this room with a random stranger for $500,000? Doors is unlocked. If one of you leave before 100 days, you both lose." If you think about it, this type of video is not unusual for MrBeast. It is actually quite in line with his usual video challenges. Some fans took to Twitter and responded in the comment section, one fan saying, "Psychologically damaging people with the promise of money for a YouTube video is insane, actually." Another said, "Do y'all ever think about how MrBeast mildly tortures people for money and poses it as entertainment?" And a third person wrote, "100 days. Being confined to a single place for that long, with someone else potentially leaving and ruin the monetary reward, would have serious physical and psychological consequences. This sounds like a bad idea." And finally, a Twitter user wrote, "I had a feeling we were close to a landmark court case caused by MrBeast creating a second Stanford prison experiment." I think that last tweet quite well sums up some of people's concerns. I think it asks the question, is MrBeast pushing the limits too far? And is there even a limit? And should he be responsible for those limits? In defense of MrBeast, I would say he does a fairly decent job at disclosing the nature of the challenge to the contestants before they agree to participate. I think the nature of the challenge is pretty clearly highlighted at the beginning of a video. The nature of his challenges are not incredibly complex. If you just take a look at some of his most popular videos, for example, if you step outside the circle, you lose. These are very, very simple ideas that young children can understand. So I believe it would not be a reach for him to make the claim that all participants were briefed beforehand and gave informed consent. So basically, he'd just say that everybody knew what they were signing up for when they joined a MrBeast video. Now let's go back to the controversy that we were talking about earlier, the problem with the structure of his video. At the root of the problem, I believe that a portion of his fans are starting to become unsettled at how extreme some of the conditions are for his challenges. I'm not here to evaluate the validity of these claims, but rather attempt to explore the possible causes of both the complaints made by the fans and the extreme condition of his recent challenges. In addition, we're going to delve into the inner psychology of the participants themselves. Something that I want to bring up is the cyclical relationship between the audience and the creator. I think a lot of us often forget that we ourselves are actually also responsible for the contents that are produced. Let me take a page out of an economics textbook to highlight this concept. So in a way, we as audience members are the demand side, and Jimmy, the creator, is on the supply side. and the video themselves are the market. And for anybody who has taken an intro to economics, you can see where I'm going with this. Demand and supply will meet in the middle, mostly in a regular market, and that's what we're going to assume in this situation. Let's try to simplify this even further. Suppose there's a bread store, but why does that bread store exist? Well, it's because there are demand. There are people that want to buy bread. That's why that bread store exists. So we ourselves and what we want is actually the cause of what exists in the market. But then let's say the bread store wants to entice more customers, so they produce different variety of bread. So that is analogous to MrBeast producing different variety of content, right? So the bread store creates different types of bread, and that makes us, who's buying the bread, more excited for bread. So we as audience members are equally as responsible as MrBeast for the contents that are being created. And if any of you have listened to the podcast that he's been on, you would see that it confirms what I'm saying. I think it's quite evident that most YouTubers check their analytics often. I think for MrBeast, he might take that to another level. He is incredibly meticulous with the way he produces his video. Just look at how many thumbnails he produces for one video. That just shows the attention to detail that he pays for every single video that he produces. I think that goes the same for what type of content he is producing. He is paying very, very close attention to what his audience wants, what they like, and how long they're going to watch that video. I don't think MrBeast is creative in the conventional sense. He's not going to be creating videos like YouTubers such as Jenna Marbles. I don't think you're going to be catching him doing a plant review for 20 minutes anytime soon. I think where he shines is his ability to understand the structure of something and use it. He understands YouTube structurally. He's very aware of the algorithm and knows how to work it to his advantage. If what he says in his podcast does not confirm that already, the way he publishes video, create his business, and curate content are all demonstration of his type of creativity. Going back to the comparison to YouTubers like Jenna Marbles, they produce content in very different ways. Observe Jenna's style of content. It is very individualistic. She produces what she wants and what catches her attention. There's not a lot of change caused by the input of her fans. While for MrBeast, he is constantly adapting to the audience and changing the content out of his video down to the very structure, such as pacing, editing, sound design, thumbnail design, among many others. These two YouTubers create videos very differently, and that reflects their own personality and natural predispositions. This brings us back to the cyclical relationship I previously discussed. We now see how both sides affect the content created. Us as the audience by our viewership, and the creator by their natural creative predispositions, arising by factors such as personality. Both influence the content being created. Now, I'd like to shift the focus to the psychology of the participants and provide an explanation. Through this explanation, I aim to shed light on why we, as a viewer, are becoming unsettled by these challenges. I think fans are not disturbed by the extreme conditions of the challenges, but rather by how participation in these challenges reflect a darker aspect of the desperate conditions within society. Numerous factors come into play when deciding to participate in a MrBeast challenge, including considerations like time commitment, work obligation the next day, relationship commitments, and of course the potential payout. All these factors are crucial to weigh. However, when the prize amount is ridiculously high, participants tend to overlook the other considerations. Moreover, viewers might be even more prone to overlook the fact that participants have to carefully weigh these factors before taking part in the challenge, as I don't really believe we humans are very good at perspective taking. So, one often underestimated aspect is the financial situation of the participant. Essentially, the question arises, are the participants financially desperate enough to take on this challenge in pursuit of that sum of money? I don't think this idea should come as a surprise. If you consider the overarching theme of financial desperation in shows like Squid Game, and note that MrBeast recreated the concept while even commenting on a podcast on not being asked to be on the original show, the connection between the two becomes more apparent. Now, let's delve into the point at which viewers start feeling uncomfortable and break down what that entails. there exists a correlation between the payout and the viewer's willingness to participate. If, at any given moment, a viewer concludes that the prize money isn't sufficient justification for them to endure the challenge, discomfort arises when contemplating the previously unconscious reality of the financial desperation experienced by other participants who are willing to endure it. To mitigate this, MrBeast needs to be cognizant of the absolute threshold curve, the point at which people start becoming aware of the stimuli, in this case, the unconscious factor of financial constraint, within the equation for determining self-participation. If we present the y-axis for the payout and the x-axis for the willingness to participate, quantified by the number of days, MrBeast has to reach a point where a large majority agrees to the conditions without being aware of the other factors. Essentially, he needs to overwhelm them with the payout while keeping other factors unconscious. To achieve this, a recommendation is for it to be beyond 50% detection. However, this becomes challenging with the broad audience since susceptibility varies across different tax brackets. So there you go, one of the few drawbacks of being the top YouTuber. To further illustrate, a child from a less affluent background might accept the dare for $20 to drink a shot of soy sauce, while a child from a more affluent background likely would not. For researchers interested in this, a survey can be conducted to assess the tax brackets of viewers or their parents, in the case of children, asking them to rate the acceptability of challenges varying the prize money and duration. If we wanted to implement this idea into videos, it might involve screening participants based on their annual income and placing them in challenges with others in similar situation. However, this does introduce a host of ethical issues. In summary, in layman terms, viewers become uncomfortable when they think that the challenge is too harsh for the amount of money the participants receive. It would be wise for MrBeast to be mindful of this in the future if he wants to reduce the level of dissatisfaction in his viewers. Finally, I want to explore how manufactured passive entertainment reflects onto society. If you are a frequent visitor of YouTube, you will likely notice a multitude of MrBeast imitators. This suggests that MrBeast's formula is effective. It's what the viewers want to see. So what is it that viewers are looking for? Essentially, they seem to prefer feel-good videos that don't challenge their perspectives, entertainment purely for the sake of enjoyment. Additionally, these videos often serve the purpose of portraying MrBeast in a positive light, creating a positive experience for him and the viewer. To clarify, there's nothing inherently wrong with creating passive entertainment. However, concerns emerge when we consider the extent of people's consumption of this specific type of content. Some veteran YouTubers have highlighted shifts in video content over time, mainly due to increased censorship, leading to content becoming more politically correct and less edgy. Aldous Huxley warned us in The Brave New World about the danger of overstimulation from technology. Perhaps this is another sign, among many already identified, of our society's growing passivity and docility, consuming for the sake of consuming. To explore this further, we could examine the differences in the mental development of children raised with technology versus those who weren't. This thought struck me when I witnessed a couple in sheer frustration with their child's unwillingness to comply and stop crying, resort to handing her an iPad to resolve the issue. I wonder about the potential long-term effects on their development and whether it's linked to the increased diagnosis of ADHD in our current society. It would be interesting to see the cognitive development of children raised with devices such as iPads versus those who weren't. There's much more to discuss about manufactured passive entertainment and our relationship to it, but for now, I will leave it at that. There is undoubtedly more to the story in MrBeast's controversies, particularly when examining the relationship between the viewer and the creator. The deeper, unsettling reality that most of us overlook lies just beneath the surface. Additionally, the impact of consuming content on our own selves is an entirely different narrative. It would benefit both creators and viewers to be more conscious of the content they produce and engage with. Thanks for watching. This is the first video I've made of this kind, and if you find that it has offered you an interesting thought, do leave a like and subscribe. See you next time, I guess. Bye.